Hello, everyone, and welcome to this edition of Careers in Psychology. This is a video series about different fields in psychology for those interested in the Bachelor's of Science program at RIT Dubai. My name is Dr. John McCarthy. I'm a professor of psychology in the psychology program at RIT Dubai. And today I am honored to be joined by Dr. Perez. Dr. Perez is a renowned psychologist who not only is an executive director of a non-for-profit organization in Illinois in the US, but also has a very extensive experience in terms of international psychology. Dr. Perez is a psychologist, a psychotherapist. She's a researcher. She's a developmental specialist. She's a cultural expert. She's a renowned international speaker and a global consultant as well. Dr. Perez, thank you so much for taking the time to join me today.
Oh my gosh, Dr. McCarthy, thank you so much for this invitation. And you have just such kind words. Oh my goodness.
Well, if we could start with a little bit about your career and what drew you into the field of psychology, please.
Well, I think it was by accident. I actually started at Northwestern University as a piano performance major, and I was thinking about things in human development. I was thinking about human behavior. I've always been that person in my family that was a bridge. So on a personal note, let's just start with that. On a personal note, as the eldest of 4 kids of a family that moved around all the time, so I'm a third culture kid, we really had, I felt like I was already in that listening role with my parents who were trying to navigate the United States, the UK, the Philippines, where I'm originally from. So that personally, that's where it really started, thinking about thinking, feeling, and behaving of humans. As far as the actual field, I've been really interested in just understanding differences and similarities across people, individuals, and groups. And also, too, I'm a person on a professional and personal note, really support human rights. And so in that space, too, it's really, really important to really figure out like what makes people tick in terms of what is considered a human rights or not. So those are just some of the things that got me into the field of psychology, really by accident.
You have had a great deal of experience internationally, as I mentioned,
Yes.
and you've done consultation in countries such as the UK, Ghana, Kuwait, the Philippines. What is international psychology and what drew you to international psychology?
Yeah, so a lot of people, that's another really good question. A lot of people ask me, what is international psychology? So I'll give a very, like a 2-part answer. The first is that international psychology is thinking, feeling, and behaving in a global context. So that's number 1. Number 2, the second part of it, knowing that is thinking, feeling, and behaving in a global context, and also knowing the birth of psychology was really very westernized and really from Europe, that we recognize that West is not best, that we create narratives, be socially responsible, we have a broader understanding of ethics all around the world in research, practice, like clinical practice or any type of practice and consultation. So that's a very, very short definition of international psychology. A lot of people think we're just a whole bunch of people who travel all around the world. It's not about the travel necessarily. It's about that orientation of those definitions. So what drew me to this, again, it's also by accident. I met a student who was taking a diversity class. I heard about the Chicago School, which was down the street from where I was working. And then I learned about international psychology. I became core faculty at the Chicago School of Professional Psychology in international psychology for 9 years, teaching the diversity, equity, and inclusion courses, and also our required study abroad courses. But what drew me to it is basically I am a third culture kid, which means I lived outside of my parents' root culture. So this was almost like a side by side for me. Like I have this global mindset already growing up as a child and now as an adult, navigating change, adapting to certain contexts. And now I get to be and teach, mentor, and guide students for those 9 years. And also as an international psychologist now, I still do that with all of my global projects. that I do that now. So I think it was an easy fit once I found out about international psychology. It's not new, but it's a new discipline compared to, like, say, for example, clinical psychology, counseling psychology, forensic psychology, those disciplines. So it's not new. So for any student who's from the, who hails from a different country, or who hails from like a different orientation in terms of your race and ethnicity, then this would probably speak to you.
This video series is designed for students interested in the Bachelor of Science program in psychology at RIT Dubai.
Mm-hmm.
What advice might you have for an undergraduate student who is thinking about a psychology major or minor or immersion?
Yeah, another really, really fabulous question. Not everybody is suited to this. So within any discipline in psychology, I would say you would want to, for example, the first thing is that you want to study people and human behavior. You don't necessarily have to like people, but you would want to understand, right? You would want to understand, or you're curious about how people think, how people feel, and how people behave. The other thing that when I talk to undergraduate students is that each person is a puzzle. Like, we're really unique. We're unique and very specific in how we operate. So that's the other thing, that if you like puzzles in any sort of way, whether they're linear, whether they're three-dimensional, all of those type of things, that it's a puzzle. And last but not least, if you're the type of person who doesn't like to work in black and white, which means there's a solid answer, and you like to operate in gray, right? Like the phrase, I don't know, Dr. McCarthy, if you ever use this, it depends, then that also would be a candidate for someone who would want to go into the psychology field.
Dr. Trish Perez, it has been a joy being with you today, and thank you for sharing your insights on the field of psychology and sharing your career as well. Thank you.
Thank you so much.